What kind of tools are available for pen testers? In terms of real world scenarios, how often do we see ESC4?
We see ESC4 regularly. We can fetch the private and public keys of this certificate authority.
So, but you're going to be carrying out the RBCD attack, right? Okay. Hey guys, welcome to a continuation podcast of our Active Directory certificate services. My name is Karan. I am the CEO and Technical Director at Redfox. This is going to be a fascinating podcast where we are going to mostly do the practical stuff. So stay tuned in. I'll briefly talk about what we do. At Redfox, we are pretty much pen testing technology. Right from AppSec to infrastructure, to red team, to purple teams, to hardware security assessments, you name it, right? We also train folks at conferences. We also have our academy channel, and we are pushing in a lot of content on YouTube, for beginners and experts alike. Stay tuned and subscribe to our channel for more and more information. Today we have one of our best pen testers, Shashi. I'll let him introduce himself and then we can get started. Shashi.
Yeah, so my name is Shashi and I am a senior security consultant at Redfox Security. Today, as Karan mentioned, that today's podcast is going to be a continuation of the previous podcast where we explained what is ESC. We explained the basics of ADCS, then explained ESC1, 2, 3, and we already have an podcast for ESC8 as well. So today we will be discussing mainly ESC4, 5, 6 and 7. So let's start.
Can you explain what ESC4 is? What kind of tools are available for pen testers? And obviously we are going to go through the practical stuff and the mitigation stuff. Yeah, Shashi, go for it.
So ESC4 is a misconfiguration of access controls on certificate templates. So if you get hold of a user who has these permissions, basically if you have right property or generic right or generic all permissions on a certificate template, it means that that low privilege user can change the settings of the template. And what setting he is going to change? They can change they can enable the SAN, which is subject alternative name. And if they can enable that property, it means this certificate is now vulnerable to ESC1. Hence, you can use the same steps in case of ESC1 to exploit ESC4. And for tools, we are going to use the same tools. We have Certify for Linux and we can use Certify for Windows.
And quick question, in terms of real world scenarios, how often do we see ESC4?
We see ESC4 regularly because of some misconfiguration. Like let's suppose a user is part of a group, and then to the group they have enabled some rights over this template. So since this user is a part of this group, and if we get hold of this user, that user has this right property on this certificate template. So this kind of misconfigurations happens a lot. I would say that about let's say if we are seeing the certificate template numbers, when we see the output, this ESC4 comes like 20-30% of the time. So yeah, we see this output.
That's quite a lot, right? Okay. Go forward. Yeah.
So let me just walk through the slides. I think we already discussed what is ESC4. And so again, as we just told that we are going to use Certify as well as Certify in case of Windows. So this is the command with which we can enumerate different vulnerabilities that is related to certificate authorities or certificate templates. So these are the commands which I am going to perform in the practical part. So let's directly, we can directly jump to the practicals. So since I'm going to basically copy paste the command and explain what these commands are, because if I'm going to write each and every, it will going to be a long podcast. So that's why. Okay. Anyway, so I think, let's suppose that we have this user, David. And using the credentials of this user, we can enumerate using Certify tool. So we will use the find module specify the username, password. Then we will mention the DC IP. The target IP is same your CA IP. Basically, in this lab, CA and DC are on a same server. So that's why you see the DC and target IP are same here. And then vulnerable flag is to find the certificate templates that are vulnerable. STD out for showcasing the output on the screen, and enabled flag is used to basically give all the templates that are enabled. So let's hit enter. And if we see, I think in the previous podcast we already fixed ESC 1, 2, 3, but this time we have another certificate template which is ESC4. And the name of the certificate template is super secure template. And this is enabled. Client authentication is again true. And the main thing here is that this domain users has these properties, which is right decal or right owner or right property over this certificate templates.
Super secure template, right?
So since every user is part of domain users group, hence they get these rights as well. So there are scenarios where we see that in one of my engagements, I saw that these rights were given to domain computers group. And since every user has a right to create up to 10 machine accounts, so we can create a computer object, and then using that object, using the credential of the computer object, we can also do that. So yeah, it was just one of the scenario that I found in my engagement. But in this case, domain users has the privileges, the right privileges over the certificate template.
Okay, so you could say this is kind of like an extension of ESC1 because you're going to make it vulnerable to ESC1. Yeah,
1,
okay.
2, 3.
2
all
or
of
3.
them.
Okay.
Yeah. Since we can change anything in this template, so that's why. So this is the command. So I will explain this command. Now we have the certificate template. Now let's see. Let's go through the command. So since we are going to make the changes in the template itself, we are going to use the template module. And then we'll provide the username, password of this user because it's a domain user. And this is the template name, which is super secure template. The target IP is the CA IP. And then this save old flag is to save the previous configuration since we are going to make changes, right? So let's suppose once our objective is over to our clients, we will fix these changes, whatever we have made to the original changes so that the client environment will not be vulnerable to all other things. Okay. So that's why this save old flag, it will save the current configuration so that we can restore. So let's do that. And if we see, saved the old configuration and we have updated the certificate template properties. And which property? I think we have enabled, let's say we have enabled client authentication, EKU. We have enabled the subject alternative name property as well. So yeah, and if we again enumerate and we see this super secure template is now vulnerable to ESC1, 2 and ESC3. 4 it already was. Okay. Now we can just use the same steps we did in case of ESC1, where we specified the subject alternative name of a domain administrator and get the certificate on behalf of that domain administrator. And from that certificate, we got to the anti-hash of the, as well as the TGT of the domain administrator. So that's what we are going to do again here. Same steps. Yeah. One second. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, let's go over these commands. So what I am doing here. So using the certify, I am using the request module, specifying the password, username and the password. Target is the CA-IP. And again, the name of the certificate authority, which is secure-CA. And this is the template we are going to use. Since now this template is vulnerable to ESC1, we can specify a subject alternative name. So using this UPN, which is user principal name flag, we can specify the name of the, or the fully qualified name of the domain administrator. Hence, we can get to the certificate of the domain administrator. And once we have the certificate of the domain administrator, we can just using this, we can auth using the PFX, which is administrator, and to the DC we can directly auth. I think DC-IP 10, 11, 15, 100. And if we see, if we get to the anti-hash as well as the TGT of the, this is the TGT of the domain administrator and this is the hash. So again, this tool is using unpack the hash attack to get to the hash from the TGT.
Okay. So 3 steps and you're domain admin, right? Okay. Okay. So that's how crazy this attack is, right, guys? And again, I forgot to mention about the disclaimer. Guys, don't try this out at your own organization or any place where you're not authorized to do this. This is a very lethal attack. And, you know, just take proper permission before you carry out these attacks. Sorry, Shashi. Yeah.
Now, what can we how can we prevent this? Let's go to the prevention part. So I will directly show how we can prevent this and why this misconfiguration comes in the first place. So let me just go to the domain controller, which is again my certificate authority as well. Let's open certificate authority. And this is the CA and these are the templates. And if we go to manage, I think we have this super secure template. Let's see where it is. Okay, here it is. Okay. So if you look at the properties, I think we have already changed this. That's why it is showing here. But if the main thing here is this. If you go to the security, it has now changed. Okay, I think it has already changed to basically to give these rights to all the authenticated users. But in the scenarios, what we have to do, basically what we can do, let's suppose if there is a domain user. Okay, let me just show you quickly how
maybe what you can do is load the original certificate.
Okay. Then I think that's the best we can do here to showcase what was the misconfiguration. So let's load it. Let me just quickly copy this command. Paste here. So again, let's see to basically change it back to its previous configuration that we just saved. So again, same thing, just the another flag which is configuration is the JSON file. So if we see here, it was saving it in this file, which is supersecure.json, the old configuration. Then we will restore it. Let's do that. And now it is restored back. Now let's go to the certificate authority. Now if we look at the properties, so and if we go to security, I think I have to maybe reload this. That is why 1 second. Again, same thing, go to the certificate templates, manage, super secure template, this one. Go to the properties and go to the security tab, and if we see, we have now restored it back to the original configuration. So this was the original configuration. And where was the misconfiguration? It's here, that the domain users of this security.redfox.local domain has these rights, read as well as write. Since these users, which are low privilege user, so any user is part of a domain user, so they can just change the configurations. And we saw which configuration we changed to make it vulnerable to ESC1. I think we enabled this flag, supplied
the request. Yeah.
So again, how to prevent this attack? Basically, we can just remove this right from this object. It looks like there is another domain. I think it's already have. Also, generally, if there is no need to provide enrollment rights as well to these low privilege users, we can just disable this as well for this domain user as well. So looks like this is correct. Or maybe we can remove this altogether as well. If you want, we can remove it. So I think let's remove it. I think that's the best thing because we don't want anybody else to come here and do some misconfigurations here. Okay, so let's remove this. Let's remove this as well. Now, if we see, only the required administrator who needs access to this template, they have now the access. Now let's apply this. Click OK. Let's go back to our Kali machine, and if we try to find it, yeah. I think it might not be updated, maybe because of the group policy object is taking some time. Let me just quickly see if let me go to properties, security. Yeah, I think it's already applied. Domain user has ESC4, right?
Maybe it's another template.
No. I think why it's showing ESC4. Let me. I think I got the idea why.
Okay, it's the same template.
Yeah, it's the same template, but yeah, let me try one more time, and then I think the issue that I'm thinking it might be that issue. So let me just quickly do that. Yeah. So let me just update the group policy as well. GP update / force. In the meanwhile, let me check the privileges over this certificate authority itself. So let's do that. Properties. Okay, one second. Let me just whether this is completed or not. Okay, this is completed, and let me just quickly go back here. Now let's see again. Yeah, I think it was just taking some time, so that was the reason it was not coming up.
Okay.
Usually it will take some few seconds to minutes to sometimes hours as well to get these changes reflected. So yeah, as we can see that we have now prevented ESC4.
Okay.
So yeah, again, just to give our audience a brief what we did here. So we found a certificate template which is super secure template which was vulnerable to ESC4, meaning that low privilege users have generic right or basically right permissions on this certificate template, and using these rights we can change the properties of this template, like we have changed the EKU as well as the SAN property,
and also I guess the enrollment rights as well, right?
Yeah, enrollment rights. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so that's what we have changed, and then we have just used the ESC1 thing, which is supplied the UPN of a domain administrator to get to the certificate of the domain administrator and get to the hash. So that's where our objective was over. Then we restored the certificate template back to its original configuration.
And then you went through the
prevented it.
Okay.
Yeah. So now let me go back to my slides here. Yeah, so these are the same steps. I think, yeah, one more thing we can, after disabling, also if this option is not enabled, the certificate manager approval, then we can, this is the best practice. This is again like a two-factor authentication.
Okay, so perfect. Now that was a wonderful session, Shashi. What we'll do now is we'll get into ESC5. Same drill, what it is, what tools are you going to use to exploit this, the practical portion and the recommendations, right? So how would you actually go ahead and fix this?
So let me first explain what is ESC5. So ESC5 is, I would say, not a direct misconfiguration of certificate authority or a certificate template. So let's suppose a scenario where you have a local administrator of the computer which is serving certificate authority. So basically, if you get hold of a user credential who is a local administrator on this computer which is serving the certificate authority, then using the local admin rights, we can fetch the private and public keys of this certificate authority, which is saved in the registry. Since we have the local admin rights, we can do that. So once we have the private and public key of the certificate authority, we basically become the certificate authority now, and we can forge any certificate. So again, this is like, we also call this attack golden certificate attack. Why? Because let's say that we have, let's talk about golden ticket. Then I think it will make more sense if we talk about golden certificate. So in case of golden ticket, what we have the password hash of the KRBTG account. Using that account, we can forge the tickets, right? Same here. If we have the public and private keys of the of the certificate authority itself, it means we can forge any certificates. Hence, it's a golden certificate.
So you can print certificates at your will.
At your will, yeah, right. So this is what. So generally, in our engagements, what we see, there are two types of scenario in which we get hold, in which we become the local administrator on this computer. One, the first scenario is that let's suppose we have a user who has a generic right or generic all privileges on this computer object, which is serving the certificate authority. And if we have a generic right or generic all rights over this computer account, then we can use RBCD attack to impersonate a domain administrator on this computer account. And and domain administrator is again local administrator on all the computers.
Yeah. Okay.
The other scenario is let's suppose we got like let's suppose that we find the local administrator credentials of this computer account. Again the same thing. How and this is where like password spray comes in use. Let's suppose in some other computer we find a local administrator and we dumped the hashes and we basically use the same hash and spray it to all the computers. And let's suppose the same hash was being reused as the local administrator password hash in this computer. Again, we have the local admin rights on this computer as well. So these are some of the scenarios. Other thing, if we have the rights over this object and this container, which is this, from here it starts from here, CN equals to public key services, this container. But generally, the scenarios that I explained, these are the scenarios that comes up. And again, for enumeration, what tools we are going to be using here? For enumeration, we have our Power View, a Bloodhound, or let's say we have AD module as well. So we can use those tools to find these misconfigurations, or we can use crackmap exec to spray the local administrator password hash. For exploitation, we are going to use certified tool only.
Okay.
So in the scenario that I have put in my lab is basically, this is what we find most, that if a user has some rights, the generic right over this computer account that is serving the certificate authority. In my case, this certificate authority is running on a DC. So what I have given is like given this user the generic right to this domain domain controller account. This you will not generally find, but yeah, that's how my lab is set up.
Okay, it's just for practical purposes that you have set it up this.
But generally, this certificate authority runs on a separate server. So anyway, the principles are same. So we want to become a local admin on the computer which is serving the certificate authority. So yeah, so I think these are the commands that we can look at. And then again, as I said, that after we get local administrator, after we become the local administrator on this computer account, then we can use this certify to basically for the certificates. So which is what golden, I think I have done ticket here. It should be golden
certificate.
Certificate. Anyway, yeah, it's a mistake. So it's a golden certificate attack. Yeah, let's go to practical and let's see. Okay. So let's enumerate first. I think I have already ran the Sharphound tool, and let's suppose in our engagement you get hold of this user. Let's say any user. Let's see. I think David is the username. Okay. And what we do? I think in our enumeration video or podcast, I have said that whenever we get to the user, what is the main thing that we check? We check the outbound object controller, and specifically this transitive object control. And if we see this David user has a generic right over this computer, which is serving the certificate authority in our case. So hence, by exploiting this RBCD attack, we can impersonate a domain administrator to access CIFS service on this computer, which is DC-02. And then what we will do, using the CIFS service, we can execute command on this. Basically, we add our users as a local administrator on that computer.
So, but you're going to be carrying out the RBCD attack, right? Okay.
So this is the scenario. So RBCD attacks is like basically if you have a user and that user or any account has generic right over a computer account, then we can change this MSDS allowed to on behalf of other identity, this property it has, and in that property we will add another account, so that using this account we can impersonate any user. So that's the RBCD, which is resource based constant delegation.
One question, Shashi. When you say serving the CA, what does that actually mean?
Basically, on this computer we have installed the ADCS role.
Okay.
And this using this ADCS role, it becomes the certificate authority. The certificate authority service is running.
Okay. So that's what you mean. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's carry out this attack. Let me just quickly go over my commands and let's go to the ESC5. Okay. So first thing, we cannot add our user into that property, which is MSDS allowed delegate MSDS allowed to act on behalf of other identity. That's a mouthful. We cannot add our user in that. Why? Because for RBCD attack to be successful, we need an account with SPN set. Okay, that's why using the machine account quota of our user, we are going to create a machine account, and when we create a machine account, that machine account will have a SPN set.
Okay.
Hence, we can add that account into this property of this computer account.
Exactly. Okay.
Right. So let's.
But the precondition for RBCD is that you should have like
generic or generic all,
and you should be able to create a machine account.
If the machine account quota is set to 10 or is set to 0, then you are not going to add a computer account. But there are other attack vectors which you can basically get to the hash of a computer account. I think in one of my engagement I used a shadow credential attack to basically add get to the credential or the hash of the machine account, and then I carried on.
Okay, so you will probably have to compromise the system, get the machine account hash, and then do it. Okay.
But generally, I think I would say that 95% or 90 to 95% of our engagement, the machine account quota is set to 10. Okay. Just like when we send our report, then they are changing back to the 10. But yeah, but most of the time, if we are getting a new client, then it's 100% that this machine account quota is set to 10, because that's the default behavior of Active Directory. And no administrator care about what is the machine quota, because maybe probably they don't even know about this. So yeah, so again, using the privileges of the David user, we can create add a computer account. So let's do that. Again, I am going to be using this impackets add computer account script. Let me paste it. Same thing here. Using the privileges of this David user, I am going to creating a fake computer account. Name can be anything. It starts with the $, and then the password for this computer account, and yeah, then the credentials of our user. Let's do that. And we have successfully added fake machine account with this password. Right now we have the credentials of this machine account. Now this account has SPN set. Now we can add this account, fake account, to the MSDS allowed to delegate on behalf of other identity property of the computer account, which is DC-02. And then we can perform this RDBCD attack to get to impersonate administrator on this machine account.
So basically you could impersonate any user. Okay.
Yeah, I am going to be impersonating domain administrator, because that user has the privileges to do anything in this computer account. So basically we are going to add, using the privileges of domain administrator, we are going to add our user as the local admin on this computer account. Okay, makes sense? Yeah, once we have added it, now we are going to use this impackets RBCD to add, to basically delegate our computer to this DC-02 computer account, which is serving the certificate authority. Okay. So let's do that. Paste. Same. Delegate from is the fake computer account that we created. Delegate to this machine account, which is serving the certificate authority. Then the DCIP action is we are going to write to the property that I just explained. And then this is the credential of our user. Okay, because why we are able to do that? Because we have the generic right over this computer account. So let's do that. So as we can see, this fake 01 is added to that, and then we can impersonate using this fake account. We can impersonate users on this DC-02 computer account. Okay. Yeah, let's do that as well. let's impersonate a domain administrator. So we are going to impersonate domain administrator to access the CIFS service of this computer account. So let's do that. Again, in packets get service ticket script, we are going to set this SPN. CIFS, SPN it means that we want this specific service from this computer, and we are going to impersonate administrator. DCIP is the same, and this is the credential of the fake computer account that we created. And why this account is able to impersonate it? Because impersonate any service as any user, because it has the it is now added to the MSDS, allowed to delegate it on behalf of other entity attribute of this computer account. Let's do that. Now it has created a service ticket because of that property. Now we have the service ticket of this administrator to access this specific service on this computer. So again, what we are going to do, so let me just first export this so that other tools can use it. This cache file, paste. Basically, we are setting an environment variable so that other scripts as well as tools can use this. And then this is what I am doing here. Let me just first see whether I have the privileges to add a user or not in the local administrator group. So first, I think click OK, hit enter, and if you see, it's showing pond here. It means that we have the rights to basically we have right to this service, CIFS service, and using the CIFS service we can also execute command. So that's what I am going to do now. We are going to add our user to the local administrators group. Paste. Same thing. We are again going to use the cache file which is here that we just exported as an environment variable, and we are going to execute this command. We are adding our user, David user, to the local administrators group on this computer, and we have the local. If we have the local administrators rights, then we can basically get to the private and public key pair of the certificate authority. So let's add it first, and yeah, the command executed successfully. And if we want to just quickly see the local administrators group now, let's wait. Yeah, now we see now the David user is added to the local administrator group, and now we are going to use certify tool. Let's see. Let me just paste it and then let me explain what this tool is doing. If we see here, first we are since we are getting to the certificate authority public and private keys, we are going to use the CA module, and we are going to use the flag backup. So this backup is going to basically download the public private key from the registry. And why we are able to do that? Because this user is now the local administrator on this certificate authority, which is hosted at this address. Let's do that. And if you see, we got the private key of this and it is using this private key. I think it generated a certificate and embedded the private key and basically created this certificate. So this certificate holds the private key, and once we have this, then we can perform golden certificate attack. Basically, we can forge any of the we can forge any template, right?
As any user.
Yeah,
right?
as any user.
Okay.
I don't know. Sorry, I think I made a mistake. I think we can forge any certificate of any user. Yeah. So that's what we are going to forge here. Let's do that. Yeah. So we are forging a certificate for administrator. I think let me just click here. You see, using this certificate, this CS. This is the CS certificate, which has the private key. Hence, we can sign any of the certificate. So here we are basically creating a fake certificate for administrator, and then we are signing it with the private key of the this certificate authority.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's forge it.
So you would compare this to the Kabi TGT hash, right? When you're carrying out the.
Able to forge any of the ticket.
Okay.
Here we are. There we were able to forge any of the TGTs. Here we are forging any of the certificates. So now we have the certificate of this forged certificate of this administrator. Now let's authenticate. You can also forge the DC domain controller certificate as well, and then domain controller has the DC sync rights, so you can get to all the credentials as well. So that also you can do. And let me again use this certify auth. I think I have to use this forged certificate now. I think this was the previous certificate that I created when I was exploiting ESC4. Forged. Okay, let's do that. And as we can see that with this forged certificate, we were able to get to the TGT of the administrator and to the anti-hash of the domain administrator. Okay. So this is how you can exploit ESC5. Other thing, if let's suppose if we directly go to get hold to this user and this user has the local administrator right, then we don't have to exploit RBCD and all. We can directly forge the certificates.
Yeah. So I mean, you created a scenario where you could show this happening. Okay.
And let's come to the fixing part. So what you can do basically, you just disable this. If you see this generic right over this, okay, let me just go to this. Okay, so go to here. Let me open the users and computer. Let me remove that misconfiguration. So I think, yeah, let's go to the properties. And if we go to the security, I think, yeah, and I think, yeah, this user had this right, generic right over this. So what we can do, we can just remove this user from here directly. And yeah, now we have removed the misconfiguration for performing the RBCD attack. Now this user will not be able to perform this attack. Hence, we can prevent this attack by just removing this simple misconfiguration. I am saying this is a simple misconfiguration, but the effects of this can be
devastating.
Devastating. Yeah, let me go back to the.
So I would suggest. I mean, I would say that, you know, protecting your CA server is very important.
Very important
for stopping ESC5, right? Okay.
Or maybe have, I think in the mitigation slides I have already also mentioned that maybe we can have some different password for different administrators.
Okay.
So password reuse also can be dangerous, very dangerous. Yeah, let me. I think, yeah, same thing here. Remove access control rights to CA computer object. Other thing, use unique password for local administrators.
Okay, perfect. This was amazing, Shashi. Let's move on to ESC7. ESC6. It's going to be quick, I guess. So, you know, what it is, you know, how can attackers exploit it, and what are the mitigations?
So, ESC6 is a misconfiguration where this particular attribute is enabled on certificate authority. This attribute is edit f_attribute subject alt name 2. If this attribute, if this flag is enabled on a CA, it means that the requester who is requesting the certificate can request certificate for any other user. It's the same ESC1, right? Yeah, again, but Microsoft has patched it. So after May 2022 security updates, the certificates that will be requested, that will be given by the certificate authority, will have this this attribute. I think it's SID. So now the SID of the requester will be embedded in that. And if we are requesting a certificate for administrator, we will get the certificate. But in that certificate, it will have the SID of the requester. So while authenticating, the domain controller will see that, hey, you are asking for the domain administrator certificate, and domain administrator SID ends with 500. But the certificate that you have, it has the SID of the requester. So it will not match. Hence, this attack will fail. But if we but there are scenarios where let's suppose you are on engagement, and if you find a server that is not updated, then you can exploit this, and the exploit is very easy. It's similar to ESC1. So yeah, so that is what ESC6 is basically, where users can specify a subject alternative name. So again, for enumeration, we have these tools. We can also use certutil to just get to this find the flag. And exploitation is similar to ESC1. So let's at least try that, so that I will show them the what Microsoft have patched here.
Okay.
So yeah. First, I think this is the same command. Nothing. This is the same as what is this? Our yeah, same as ESC1. But if we see, let me just show to the audience here that let me just find the again enumerate the certificate and certificate. Sorry, certificate authority and certificate templates. Yeah. And if we see this here, this user specified SAN flag is enabled. Okay. So generally this is not enabled, but there are scenarios it is enabled, and if that server is not patched, it means we can exploit it. So that's what it is. So if we let me just paste the command. Okay, I think it's the same as ESC1. But this time, okay, I think let me just paste it and then explain. Just a minute, or I think I should just write it. Yeah. So yeah, same thing. We are requesting a certificate. As a user, this David. And we can request a certificate for domain administrator, because now this user has this right, not the right, but this certificate is enabled for user supplied SAN property, this property. That's why we can request a certificate for any other user. And in this case, we are requesting a certificate for domain administrator. But after the patch, but we can see here that this the SID of this David user is now embedded into in this certificate. Okay. And when we try to authenticate using this certificate, the domain controller will find that the domain administrator actual SID don't match with this SID, the SID of the David
requester. Yeah,
which
is David,
yeah. So it will not authenticate. So let's do that. Certify auth. Let's use this administrator certificate. It will give us the certificate because of that property, but we will not be able to authenticate to the domain controller. Same thing, if you see, we are trying to get a TGT for domain administrator, but there is an object SID mismatch between the certificate and the user administrator.
Okay.
So this is the SID of the requester, which is David. So after this patch, we cannot exploit it. But if let's suppose it was running, this CA was running the CA is running on a unpatched server, then we can just get to the authentication.
Okay. So then you can go ahead and straightforward exploit it, right?
Exploit it. Okay. Yeah. So and how we can prevent it? Patch it. Yeah, how we can patch it? So I think I already have a command for that.
Okay, so this is the command to enable that flag.
Yeah, and this is the command to disable it. So,
disable it.
So the command that I am showing here, this is to enable it, but don't. Okay, I will directly show in the domain the CA itself. Yeah. I think we already patched it. Okay. So what we are doing? We are basically setting a registry key to disable this. So this minus here, it means we are disabling it.
Okay.
So don't do this. I am just showing. So this is how it can be enabled, just by putting a plus here. Okay. But please don't do this. If your server is unpatched, then it's going to be exploited very easily.
Okay. Just one command, right?
Yeah, just one command. So this is how you can patch your servers. or you can directly update your this computer to the latest updates, latest patches. Yeah, and now I think I have already disabled it, so let me just note this. Maybe let me just now try to find it, enumerate. And if you see, the ESC6 is now prevented. I think we just quickly take a look at here. I think there was ESC6 because of this this user specified SAN was enabled, and now if we see, the user specified SAN is disabled now, and it is and we have prevented the ESC6 attack. Okay, so this is what ESC6 attack is. Yeah, practicals and prevention, same thing. Update the CA server to have the latest patches and disable this flag.
Perfect. So we got like a good understanding of ESC7. Sorry, 6. We are now moving our attention to ESC7. Shashi, again, the same drill.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what it is, what tools can attackers use to exploit it, and how do we, stop this?
Okay.
Yeah.
So ESC7 is a misconfiguration of access control rights on the certificate authority itself.
Okay.
So one distinction, it is the access control right misconfiguration on certificate authority, not the templates.
Okay.
The certificate, the template was the ESC4.
Okay.
But in ESC7, let's suppose we found a low privilege user who has these rights, manage CA as well as manage certificate rights on a certificate authority. Then what we can do, using these rights, we can first, let's suppose we have only the manage rights, not the manage certificate, only the manage rights. So if we have the manage CA rights, then we can add ourselves to manage the certificates.
Okay.
And once we can manage the certificates, once we get the manage the certificate rights, then we can enable this template, which is sub CA template.
Okay.
And the thing about this sub CA template, it is disabled by default, but we can enable it using our new rights. And on this sub CA is vulnerable to ESC1, but the catch is that only domain administrators and enterprise admins can enroll in this certificate.
Okay.
So even if it is enabled, we cannot enroll it as a low privilege user. Okay. So what we can do, since we have the ability to manage certificate rights, we will make a request to the certificate authority looking for certificate for sub CA. And ask certificate for administrator. Since we don't have the enrollment, this request will fail. Okay. But since we have the managed certificate rights, we can issue this certificate.
Okay.
So from failure status, we can issue this certificate.
Okay. Okay. Because you have the managed certificates.
Yeah.
Rights. Okay.
And if the certificate is issued, we can retrieve the certificate of the administrator.
Okay.
So this is what ESC7 is.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, same tools we are going to use for enumeration, certify as well as certify.exe in case of Windows. And this is the exploitation command. Basically, we will first add a user and then enable this template and then request a certificate for this template. And then we will issue the failed request. And then we will retrieve the issued template. And then we will just authenticate. And let me just show this practically so that it will make more sense.
So you'll need both these rights, right?
No, we just need, okay, let me just show you what rights right now I have. I think this is my certificate authority. If we go to the properties and let's go to the security, and if you see here, okay, so domain users has managed CA rights.
Okay.
So if we have these rights, we can just add ourselves as an officer. It means that we are enabling this right as well.
Okay.
To issue and manage certificates.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, that's what we are doing here.
Okay.
So let me just show how it can be done. Okay. Let me just go back to my test machine. Yeah. First thing, we will just enumerate. Okay, I think this is ESC6, this is ESC7. Same thing, we will first enumerate. Now this is vulnerable to ESC7 and ESC8. I think ESC8 we already fixed in the previous podcast. I showed how. But yeah, let's see this time, since our user has this managed C rights. If you see the managed C right,
domain users. Okay.
Domain user has the managed C rights for this certificate authority. Hence, it is vulnerable to ESC7. Okay. So what we are going to do first we are going to add officer, which is again basically giving our user the rights to issue and manage certificates. Okay. So let's do that. Let me just quickly go over the command. We are again using the CA module because we are making changes on the CA. This is the certificate authority secure-CA. The name of the officer we are going to add is the David, which is the same user which has the right to manage the CA, and the target is the certificate authority server. And we have successfully added our David user to issue and manage certificate for this CA. And we quickly, let me just show that as well.
Probably have to refresh it.
Maybe let me just see. Maybe okay. I think domain users. I think I have to refresh it. Let's do that. Or maybe I have to just close it. Let's see first. Domain users. I think reload. I have to reload this.
Or maybe there's a bit of lag.
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
as you said before.
Yeah. That can also be the reason. Security, domain users. I think it's okay. I think we are looking at the wrong place. We gave this David user the issue and manage certificate rights.
Okay.
So now we have added the David user as a certificate authority officer.
Okay.
Basically, it means that this user now has issue and manage certificate rights.
Okay. And domain users don't have it, but David has.
But David has.
Okay.
But domain user had this manage CA rights.
Manage CA. Okay.
So there are scenarios again. Maybe domain users don't have it, but another user or computer account has it.
Okay.
Because of some misconfiguration. So you can use that if you get hold of the credential of those objects, then you can again add any user as an officer.
Okay.
Once this David is added, has these permissions over this issue and manage the certificate on this CA, then we can just enable a certificate template which is sub CA. I think, let me just quickly see here. Certificate template. If you see, there is no sub CA template, right? Yeah. And if we look at the manage and go to the sub CA template, the beauty about the sub CA template is that users can specify subject alternative name. Okay. I think it is not showing because it's a default template, but the thing is same. And if we see the security, only the high privilege users can do that, not domain users. Basically this is the default property, that's why it's not showing up. Basically. Okay. Yeah, now we have our David user as the officer on this CA. Now we are going to enable this certificate template, which was disabled. As we saw, there was no certificate. This certificate was there, but it was not enabled. So let's enable this using the David user, right? Because we have added that user, we can add any user if that we have the credentials of. Same thing, same command using the CA module. This is the CA user, password, target, and enabling the sub CA template. Now this template is enabled, and only administrators can enroll in this template. Okay. And they can specify any UPN. Okay. But since we are low privilege users, we will try to do that first. So let me see what will happen. Okay, what we can do? Let me just quickly.
So you're saying it's default configuration, right? So only administrators can do it.
So again, I think I have used this command again. Okay, so just to show that this is enabled. Again, if you try to enumerate, I think it's taking some time. That is the only, or maybe I think I have to remove this vulnerable flag, because by default this is not vulnerable because only the administrators has the right to do that. And if we see here, okay, these are all the enabled ones.
So you'll probably have to go to sub CA, right?
Sub CA, yeah. This is the sub CA. And if you see, this flag is enabled on this and only subjects. It was not showing it, but by default it is enabled. And but the enrollment rights are only given to this is the domain administrator group, and this is the enterprise admins group. But as a low privilege, we cannot enroll in it. So, but we will try to enroll in this certificate, sub-CA certificate, and we can specify a domain administrator SAN, because this certificate has the ability to do that. So let's do that. Yeah, certificate request, password, CA, target, template is sub-CA, and we specify the subject alternative name of administrator. And if you see, it will basically fail this request. Why? Because if you see the permission on this certificate do not allow the current user, which is David, to enroll in this type of certificate. So let's just quickly save the private key, but it will not work basically. Now this the request, it is that the request ID is 80. It means this certificate, the certificate request is in the failed status. So let's quickly do that. The certificate, let's take a note of this ID, which is 80. And if we go here, where is the certificate authority? Here, yeah. And if we go to the failed requests, we have this request number 80, which is for which is the requester name is this David. Okay, this is now in failed status. This is for sub-CA. Okay, but this is the certificate of the domain administrator. It's just that it has not issued that certificate to us. Right now it's in the failed state, but since this David user has now the ability to manage certificates as well as the issue the certificates, they can issue these certificates. This failed certificate, they can issue it. Okay.
Because they have the issue
rights.
and manage.
Yep.
So, okay. So you have to make note of the request. Okay.
I think the tool already gave us that. We don't have to log into the domain controller, this certificate authority just to see that. Here is the request ID. It will give you that. Let's paste it. So using our privileges as David user, we are going to issue the request number 80. Okay, I think the command is making sense. Same thing, just that we want to issue this request number 80, which is the failed request, as the David user. So let's do that. And we have successfully issued the certificate. And let's again go to the certificate authority. I think I have to reload it. So it has now removed from the failed request to the issued certificates. Now this certificate is issued. Okay. And we can just retrieve these certificates. So let's do that again. I think it's the same command, but just instead of issuing, this time we will retrieve this certificate number 80. Retrieve. Okay, I think, yeah. It was in failure state, then we issued it, then we will retrieve it. Now we again have the certificate of the domain administrator. Because this sub-CA has this flag enabled, this subject alternative flag enabled. That's why using this David user, we were able to get to the administrator flag with the privileges, with our privileges of issue and manage certificate.
Okay.
So again, yeah, if we just auth using this certificate, so that should work. Yeah, it worked. So yeah, this is the ESC7. It is the misconfiguration of the access rights, which is the managed CA rights on the certificate authority itself. And how we can prevent this? It's very simple. Don't know why the domain administrators or network administrators are misconfiguring this, because it should not happen. But we are seeing this on daily basis.
ESC7 as well, right?
So all the ESC's techniques that I showed, I think we have covered from 1 to 8. All of them we are seeing regularly. With ESC1, 4 and 8 are the ones that are coming up most.
Okay.
But there are a scenario where you will get to the 2, 3, 5, 6 and 7 as well. Yeah, so let's fix this. Okay. This is the certificate authority object. And first, let's remove this, the misconfigured that we added by David, by allowing a David user these rights. So let me just remove this, as well as remove the domain users to have these rights. And let's remove the authenticated users as well. Anyway, this user only has the request, so it will.
You can't do anything.
Yeah, you can't. This can't do anything. So I think, yeah, these are the default configurations. I think it's looking good. Okay. And now if we go to our machine, and now we'll try to enumerate. Okay, I think I have to enable. Enable this vulnerable flag. Okay, it's saying that it is vulnerable to ESC7, but this time it is showing that
the domain
only the domain administrator has the this permission.
Which is fine.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Okay. So yeah, this is what ESC7 is. And I think I already prevented this misconfiguration. Let me just go back to my
the slides.
Yeah, my slides. Yeah, so this is how you can prevent it. Just don't give your user these rights.
Perfect. So I'll just give a brief recap about what we have done. We have covered ESC4, 5, 6, and 7. This was a powerful podcast. Guys, if you liked it, please subscribe to our channel. We are going to start off with an Azure series very soon, where Shashi and I are going to be discussing about Azure related attacks. Please follow us on other mediums as well. Before we head off, we have our Academy channel where we are pushing our courses as well. Please have a look at them. Also, we are training at conferences, so follow us on LinkedIn. So you'll get to know our next move, right? So before we end this session, Shashi, any closing thoughts about ADCS?
Yeah, so I think in our 3 podcasts we have covered ESC1 to ESC8, and I just said that this misconfiguration we are seeing on the daily basis. So that's why we have also added the prevention portion here, so that the network administrators can prevent against these attacks. And we saw that how easy these are attacks to perform. So I hope that this video reaches out to more and more administrators as well ethical hackers who can just exploit this and create a report for the defenders, and then they can fix it. So the main goal here is to fix all these ADCS attacks, because these are the complexity is not that high. Even a script kiddie can exploit this thing. So yeah, so the only thought that I have is be ethical and keep testing.